Hi, my name is Monique Libby, and I will be presenting my voter information Pathfinder to you. My presentation agenda consists of navigating to the online Pathfinder and introducing each section and discussing some of the most useful sources. I will also demonstrate how to share this Pathfinder at the end of the presentation. Here, I quickly navigated to the online link that has the Pathfinder. It's a pictochart infograph, and it's a simple one-page layout. As you'll see, you don't have to scroll down very far, and the Pathfinder is separated into 6 sections. Here I have a Getting Started introduction that implores citizens to participate in the democratic process by taking part in their communities through voting. I also have the Basics sections that contains 5 links to useful sites that I thought were essential for voters to acquire information from. In addition, I have state requirements and special voting considerations. Then I also have a Get Involved section at the very bottom so that if citizens want to also participate in ways other than voting, they can do so by volunteering at one of these recommended organizations. And they have links here to go to their websites to get more information. So let's go through the Basics section. We'll start with the United States Election Assistance Commission. I placed this link here first because it was a simple guide, and it's 10 tips for voters. Here on the site, members of the electorate will be able to go through a simple checklist of basic requirements before they vote. If they're new voters, they'll get to go through this checklist and confirm their eligibility and make sure that they go through the proper procedures to make sure that they'll meet the deadlines to vote. And here it includes also identification requirements, provisional voting, early vote, and then making sure that your poll place is accessible. Now, this may mean different things to different people. In this instance, they're referring to various disabilities, but they're also offering here language assistance. So we'll proceed to the next basic source. And here we have USA.gov. All the resources in this Pathfinder, I made sure that they were reliable so that users could use them confidently without having to worry about the efficacy of this information. So here, there's more basic information and links provided to get to it. There's Election Day resources, so this extends on the 10 tips for voters checklist. In addition, there's always register to vote links available on most of these sites. I've noticed that as a pattern, and it's good to have. But there's also here a link that presents the presidential election process and even voting history. So in addition to going through different requirements and different questions about voting and the election process and duties as a voter, they can also get background information, and they can even find their state's election office website for further information specific to their state and their community. Here is the third link of Vote 411. This is another very useful, straightforward site that provides useful tools. Unlike the first 2 sites here, there is a tool to enter your address, which would be your permanent residence or stable residence, and you can find out your local civic information. And so this tool is presented right away, and there's also a register to vote tool, and then you can search by state and topic specifically from this page. And so we'll continue to the next source, and it's Project Vote Smart. Project Vote Smart is unique from these other pages because it's not a Women's League nonprofit, it's not a .gov site, but it's still a nonpartisan organization, and it addresses specifically the issues that the electorate may have with political efficacy, meaning that, there's a lot of voters that are not very trusting, that they understand enough about the political process to participate. And they're also unsure of how to acquire that information, or they may not feel comfortable seeking it. Project Vote Smart appeals to those sensibilities, providing users with easy tools. So here we have the political galaxy, where users can research politicians either by entering their name or their zip code if they're unsure of how to spell the politician's name. It took me too far back. And so there's also the Vote Easy tool, which I think was very interesting. It appeals to users because it's easy. I mean, wouldn't you want to find your political soulmate? So you can choose between congressional candidates and presidential candidates. And so users have all this information about the candidates and current politicians at their fingertips, including bios, their voting, their positions, ratings, past speeches, and funding sources, which is a very relevant topic during this current presidential election year. We'll continue to the next source. And so during the creation of this Pathfinder, most of the resources I have are digital, even this one that will take users to analog materials. They could still read these books online, but it was sort of difficult to find physical books, searching local library catalogs. I decided to go with this Goodreads list because it could, again, be easily accessible online, either from home or a public computer. And even if they don't want to join Goodreads, they still have access to this list. I'm not a member, and I was able to pull this list up. And they can still take the title and or the author's name and find these titles if they're interested in any of them. Now we'll proceed to the next two sections. These sections speak to additional state requirements for voters. And so I'll go with this first source here. And the first page lists all the state voting ID requirements and registration requirements by state, including the District of Columbia, and it makes it readily available. There's even, again, the popular Register to Vote button handy for anyone who would read this list and decide that if they're not already registered, they would like to register because they qualify. And so we also have special voting considerations. The three groups that I addressed in this section were the homeless, the disabled, and former felons. So the first link goes to the National Homeless You Don't Need a Home to Vote campaign. Now, different states and different regions have different residency rules, and it's important to know what the regulations are in your area. Project You Don't Need a Home to Vote provides assistance for low income and for people that don't have permanent or stable residence. They can seek more information from this organization and ensure their eligibility to vote. The second source provides information for disabled members of the electorate and provides information about accessibility at the polls and also for acquiring information. And so there's the Accessible Voting Technology Initiative here, and you could take a link and click through into their site. So there's many resources for different members of the electorate and that will address their specific needs. And then here for former felons, 38 out of 38 states restore voting rights to felons who have served their time. But there are still outlying states that do not. And sometimes the decision can be repealed. And so the Felon Voting Rights Campaign provides information for them to find out more information about how they can get their rights restored through appeal, or which states automatically reinstate their rights after their sentences are served. But notice the disclaimer here that this isn't offering direct legal advice, that this is just information offered, but please seek actual legal counsel when trying to take action. And it's important to note that recently the state of Virginia decided to re-enfranchise its former felon population. And so here I also provided, which was also on this past site for the National Conference of State Legislatures, former felon rights, voting rights page, the contact information for the election officials in their area. So you can follow this, you can cut and paste this link into the address bar and find that information. And here we are at the end of our Pathfinder. So one way to share this Pathfinder would be to copy and paste this link, and it can be embedded in a website, sent in an email, or texted through a smartphone, if so. There's also another way. If you are a member of PictoChart, so through this platform, what I've found is that, at least through this one, you can, as a creator, you can choose to download your infograph. So if you click on this link here, you can, with the free subscription, you can choose the file format, PNG or JPEG. And so you can download the Pathfinder, and then if you have other software like Adobe Acrobat, you can convert it to a PDF if you want to. And you can also embed that document into websites, email it, disperse it. But the best way that I have found, printing was an issue. So the best way I found was to, as a creator, if you have access to this, to documents, to download it and convert it and then print it. And then it's free to be dispersed. Going straight to printing online is a little tricky. I don't know if any of you guys had this issue, but it sort of shows up garbled if you tried to print straight from the browser. And that isn't very convenient for someone such as a member of the electorate to have to go through certain hoops and have to reformat vigorously their material. So unfortunately, it is the best way to reach it online, but hopefully staff will be able to show users how to access the online Pathfinder and then also disperse the link. And hopefully the creator is on staff, or they could contact the creator to get a copy of the document. So I'll show you the bottom again. And that closes my presentation. Thank you so much for listening, and please vote.